Coming back into Sports Talk Chicago, training camp is this week. Rookies are about to report. So let's bring in former Bears defensive end. He is Northwestern Wildcats standout. He is CH Joe's very own. It's Corey Wootton, my guy Corey, to talk about training camp and a special guest dropping in from the top.
Say hi. My daughter Zara. So we're in the hallway right now. My oldest daughter's got practice, but hey, the scoop on the Bears never stops there, Joey. So it's good to be back. It's been a while, man. Hope you enjoyed your fourth. We had a great time. We went to New Jersey, visited my family. And so now we're back. Season is around the corner, right? Training camp, I believe, starts next week. They start to report, right? The rookies. So it's a good time of the year when everyone starts to get dialed in and all the anticipation, right? You know, because obviously, right, it was good in basketball, baseball's there, but there's nothing like football season. I think everybody, that's America's sport, right? America's pastime in the past was baseball, but football is America's sport, and it's about to be back, baby.
Corey, when it comes to Chicago sports right now, we are in the desert, and the Chicago Bears are a giant Olympic-sized swimming pool right now. So I'm super excited. I'm also going to need the scoop on the summer sports, the youth summer sports too, as well, because I know it looks like you're 100% dialed in right now. Let's jump right into it, Corey, real quick. By the time this episode airs, I don't think this news would come to completion just yet, but as of right now, a lot of Bears fans like to talk about Caleb Williams and Roman Dunze. They haven't signed their rookie contracts yet. I personally think this is a bit of a formality. I mean, you've been in the league. You've gone through that process before. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I'm terrified, I'm scared, they're going to hold out. What is your concern level right now for both those players signing their rookie deals?
A 1. There's the formality. They'll get it done. The one thing about rookie contracts, they're all slated. So there's zero wiggle room. It's probably just some little formality with the contract. So I'm not worried at all. So I know Bears fans like they haven't signed yet. But at the end of the day, I hope it's nothing like super small, like something that like. I don't know. You never know, but I highly doubt that it's something very important. I would imagine it'll get worked out in the next week.
Yeah, Corey, I'm curious. When you signed your first NFL contract, when they talk about Roquan Smith, they use the word offset language a lot, which seems to have to do a little bit with the specifics or the way that you can kind of view different injuries off the field. Mm-hmm. Was there anything that, like, when you went through your first contract or when you talked to your lawyer that you're like, oh, that's kind of weird? Like, why is that in there?
Yeah, I don't think it was any weird, but like, you know, people like to play basketball or go skiing or snowboarding.
Ride a bike.
That's on there. Yeah, so like any activities outside of football, and it kind of listed a couple. And I think that's what you see. Like, I remember when I played, there was a bunch of different players like Terrell Suggs, Ryan Clady. They tore their Achilles and ACL playing basketball. So I think it's to avoid those type of things. Because, like, God forbid, it's already hard enough to stay healthy on the actual football field. But getting an injury in not your sport is something that is just awful to go through.
Yeah, and Corey, I think they iron it out. I'm honestly kind of curious that with Hard Knocks probably coming in with all their production crews next week as rookies report to camp, I'm wondering also if Ryan Poles is maybe setting this up as a possible moment that they get on camera of them coming to agreement on their rookie contract. Is that also possible?
It could be. You know, whenever the camera's around, you never know what someone's motive is. So I bet it's something like that. The big kumbaya, they signed the contract, is the big deal. So it could be giving Hard Knocks what they want.
That's a little bit of what I'm thinking right now. And if Hard Knocks was smart too as well, they would bring Corey Wootton back to training camp too as well and get him on camera. I know there'd be some great moments, some great robot moments there too as well. Let's dive right into some of the on the field stuff. Like, look, Corey, it's still the middle of July, but Chicago Bears fans, they're so excited to just watch or get any piece of news that they possibly can about their team right now. I'm going to keep it broad and keep it general right now. Either side of the ball, what has you the most excited right now as the Bears head into training camp? What's kind of rattling in your brain now that's getting you pumped up?
The offensive weapons. You look at what they have at the receiver, that trio, Roman Dunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, right? Those are probably one of the best on paper in the league. Then you look to the tight end position, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett. Everett is super underrated as far as a receiver. He's basically a receiver out there at tight end, right? Cole Kmet can do both of it, not a burner. but Gerald Everett can really stretch the defense. He's a nightmare matchup for linebackers and safeties. And then you go into the backfield, they have a three-headed monster as well with Swift, Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson. It's like pick your poison at that point. So I think this is the most stacked I think we've seen the Chicago Bears as far as weapons. This is the most complete I think we've seen their offense, and looking forward to it. They steady have been building that offensive line. I know people were down about Nate Davis. He went through a lot. I believe he lost his mother last year. So I expect him to really bounce back, play the season for her and be ready to hit the ground running. You look at all the pieces are there. Now we finally have the quarterback that everyone feels good about, right? So it's the ideal situation for Caleb Williams. But the thing is, right, it's an adjustment. Anytime you come into the league, he has the talent, but it's about getting on the same page with the receivers, the timing, the rhythm, this offense, the scheme. It's all new, right? There is going to be some growing pains. It would be great if he could light it up right away. But I think the key is week 1 against Tennessee. He doesn't have to light up the stat sheet. The biggest thing he has to do is be efficient and get his confidence up in the first game. And I believe if he can do that, he can have a very successful season.
Talking to former Bears defensive end Corey Wootton right here on Sports Talk Chicago. Follow him at Corey Wootton, 2 O's, 2 T's. Corey, staying on that topic real quick, when you talk about Nate Davis, I mean, personally, if I had to come up with a list of concerns in July right now for the Chicago Bears, it probably would be that interior offensive line. Can Nate Davis secure and be a starter from the get-go week 1 moving forward? But also, who's going to win the center job for the Chicago Bears? Now, yeah. I think when training camp starts, I think you got plenty of time to sort it out. But in your opinion, Corey, how much time should when should the Chicago Bears make a decision at the center position and roll with it? And how much time do you need to get enough reps to feel good about that? Because, Corey, we saw last year they had problems snapping the football, and it was moving Justin Fields' eyes in the backfield. I don't want that for Caleb Williams. So how much time until they really need to make a decision there?
I think pretty early on, because you have to get on the same page, especially new quarterback in there. You want him to be familiar. And you hit the nail on the head. There was a lot of botch snaps last year, and that's something that you can't happen, especially with a young quarterback. You want to make sure he gets the ball. So you have to make that decision quick. I feel like it's probably going to be made in the first 2 weeks. Probably they'll have a guy that is their number one right out of training camp, and then they'll maybe alternate reps or split reps, and then go into a situation where they're like, hey, this guy's the starter. Go with him. See how he performs in the preseason games and any inter-squad scrimmages. But I think it's crucial because the center is arguably one of the most important pieces on the offensive line that gets overlooked all the time because they're the quarterback of the offense. All the reads, all the calls, all the checks go through them. So it's going to be huge that him, especially with a young quarterback, that you have the center position ironed out and dialed because he's going to be a lifesaver for a guy like Caleb Williams. That's, when you have guys breathing down your neck on third and long, you got exotic blitz packages, when they're playing Houston week 2, there's going to be a lot of moving parts there, and you're going to need an intelligent guy that's ready to go at center.
Yeah, Corey, a couple more here for Corey Wootton here on Sports Talk Chicago. So having said that, what is your take on maybe the continued interest with the Chicago Bears and Connor Williams? He says that he's ready for training camp. Recovering from a torn ACL that I think he tore last November. It's not an easy thing to do, Corey. Is the timing just not right to bring him in, or would you still maybe heavily consider maybe taking a chance on him?
I would consider it, especially if you don't feel 100% about that center position, which I don't think they do. Yeah. You got to take a look at him. I mean, especially in training camp, what's the worst that can happen, right? You bring him in and you have a starter or you have a guy that can back up if, God forbid, something happens. So I think you got to take a look at him. And you just give it a very friendly contract. If he doesn't play up to par, he doesn't make the team. There's really no risk to the Bears at that point. So I think they got to take a look at him.
In terms of the defensive side of the ball, real quick, this is your bread and butter. We're going to get to the defensive line in a second. I'm just really excited to watch this secondary continue to grow. This is a unit now that they keep adding pieces year by year, but slowly but surely we're getting a core group of guys here outside of Kevin Byard, that have been together now for their second straight season. Sure. In Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker's case, this is their third year. Is there a guy that you're looking at right now that you think is poised to take a huge leap from a secondary that a lot of Bears fans think is going to be top notch in this league?
I think Stevenson. For sure. I mean, he finished the season playing elite. And early on, I know people were down upon him, but he's an aggressive type of corner. And I kind of knew he'd go through some of those growing pains because, when opposing offenses are going against him, they're like, okay, look at this guy. He breaks on the ball quick. Let's pick on him. And then towards the end of the season, I mean, he was arguably one of our best players. He was playing at the level of Jalen Johnson and some of the best around the league. So I really do believe he's going to take the next step this year. He has all the talent. I think last year was huge for his confidence. And think about it. Imagine the defense again this year, adding another piece, with Byard and company, because we thought Eddie Jackson took a step back last year. It is what it is. I think he took a step back, but I'm thinking hopefully with Coach Eric Washington there, he's really going to get this defensive line playing lights out, and then we have a rushing cover. Because you saw the impact when Montez Sweat came in there, how that really revived that defense. So hopefully, some guys can step up this year and really make their hay at the defensive line.
Yeah, I'll never forget, Corey, former Steelers defensive back Ike Taylor, who we've done shows with before in the past. I remember when Tyreek Stevenson got drafted, I talked to him a little bit, and he just gave me one word. He just said, Tyreek Stevenson, dog. That's all he was saying. His eyes got nice and big. He just said, dog. I mean, for non-football fans, that's pretty high praise, right, Corey?
Exactly. And Ike is a really intelligent football mind, especially understanding that defensive back position. You always want somebody, especially as a corner, a guy that's a dog, because a lot of people don't like to stick their face in there nowadays, right? They want to be the prima donna corners where they just cover. But Stevenson's the guy that hits you in the mouth, too, and especially in this attacking style defense. You really want a dog, like he said in there.
Yeah, final one for you, Corey. We're going to get you out of here. Just the defensive line, man, Corey's corner. Yannick Ngakoue is still on the street. Of course, last year he didn't sign until August 3rd, so that could be the exact same case this particular year. What is your confidence level right now with the defensive line heading into training camp with some young players ascending, but still maybe the depth isn't quite where Bears fans want it to be?
I think I'm a little concerned, but I'm promised because Eric Washington, who was my defensive line coach in college and my first year in the Bears, is really about that attacking style defense. He's a disciple of Rod Marinelli. He's developed some great talent in Carolina. I really believe he's the missing piece to take a guy like Jervon Dexter to the next level. And who knows, right? Dominique Robinson, his back's against the wall. He hasn't really produced. He hasn't done much in his 2 years. This is a critical year for him, right? I was in the same space he was going into year 3, where it was a make or break year. I had a decent first year. Second year didn't do much at all. My back was against the wall. That's when I really focused in that offseason and took the next step when I eventually became a starter that third year. So this is a huge year for Dominique Robinson. I wouldn't count him out. I know a lot of Bears fans we haven't seen it. But year two to year 3 is a huge step. And I believe Eric Washington is going to take those guys' game to the next level. And Jervon Dexter is going to be an integral part of this defensive line. He has all the tools, all the talent. Joey, I always said this. His pad level and his get off was something that wasn't there. Guarantee Eric Washington is in his ear. And I believe he will take the next step this year.
Yeah, and just real quick, Corey, with Zach Pickens, a lot of advanced stats on the offseason have come out that situationally Zach Pickens actually was able to produce some pressures in some situational moments. Where do you think he is right now in this whole depth chart? Do you think he can actually ascend beyond that, or do you think he's still a little bit more of a work in progress with Zach Pickens?
Yeah, I think he really ascend. And in this type of scheme, it's all about rotation. So whether or not him or Jervon Dexter starts, it's irrelevant. Because there's guys that came off the bench. Henry Melton had 6.5 sacks off the bench. There's multiple guys that can go in there and rotate. So I think Zach Pickens, he's a little bit more polished than Jervon Dexter. I think everybody's so intrigued because they're like, if Jervon Dexter played with the pad level to get off of Zach Pickens, he'd be unstoppable.
Put them together.
Zach Pickens will take the next step as well, especially with Coach Eric Washington there. I think it's going to be a night and day difference for the get off and the effort with this defensive line. I really expect that.
Corey Wootton here joining Sports Talk Chicago, man, former Bears defensive end. My man, thank you so much for jumping on, talking training camp. Dude, it's just begun, so we had to bring you in just for a couple minutes here to give us a preview. Dude, be well, man. Thanks for jumping on. And hey, summer sports at the Y. Is it where it's at right now?
That's how we have to do it, baby. But good catching up with you. We'll get it going next week and talk a little more, man.
Yeah, dude. Can't wait, man. Be
All
well,
right.
Corey. Thanks so much, dude.